Jaden Ivey continues to impress in the Detroit Pistons' second preseason game against the Phoenix Suns. We'll break down how he looked and others in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So I'm recording this after the Detroit Pistons game against the Phoenix Suns. They played this game at Michigan State's arena over in Breslin Center. Certainly interesting choice. It was pretty cool, I'm not going to lie, to see Kevin Durant playing on Michigan State's floor. That was pretty dope, I'm not going to lie to you. It was pretty cool. Jaden Ivey continued to impress. We'll break down his game. I believe the rotation is becoming more and more clear just through two games. I think you can clearly see the idea of what J.B. Bickerstaff is going for. We'll break that down and what it will look like when guys come back healthy, like a Nassar Thompson, like a Tobias Harris. And then also we'll quickly hit on at the end, is there any reason to be concerned about Cade Cunningham? But first, I want to start, obviously, with how well Jaden Ivey has looked. So in this game, Jaden Ivey had 16 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 6 of 13 shooting. He played 23 minutes in this game. Again, as I said in the last episode, I'm not concerned about whether the Pistons win or lose in preseason. That's not the point in preseason. It does not matter at all. I don't really care about that. I care about how guys are playing and what specific players are doing to attack their own goals for how they want to attack preseason. And it's clear for Jaden Ivey that he is attacking this preseason as if every game is a regular season game. After the season he had last year, he's trying to get started right off on the right foot and really get going with the things he practiced in the offseason and get it going at game speed. I think one of the main things that we've seen from Ivey through two games that I personally love the most. There's a multiple things. We'll talk about them. But there's one thing I've seen from him through two preseason games that I hope we see it play out when the games actually start to matter in the regular season. But through two preseason games has really impressed me. And it's how well he has been playing off ball when it comes to attacking rotating defenses, when it comes to attacking tilted defenses, when it comes to attacking gaps, when it comes to cutting into gaps and making plays, not just for himself, but others when he is attacking these gaps. He has looked really, really good in these areas. For example, there was a play within this game. Cade Cunningham in the first half, he took a pick and roll to his right from the right wing. He was driving along the right baseline. He kind of ran out of space along the right baseline, and Ivey cut right down the middle of the key. He hit Ivey with a wraparound pass to the middle of the key, and as soon as Ivey caught the ball, the defense had to turn around. That's a rotating defense. You're attacking a weak defense. You're attacking a defense trying to react to you. So as soon as he caught the ball, the defenders all turned their attention to him. The big that was in the paint had to turn and look at Ivey. And as soon as Ivey caught the ball, he didn't waste a second. He touched past it to Jalen Duren, who was then behind that big, and he immediately got dunked. Nice driving kick from Cade, and an even better play from Jaden Ivey to make the instant play of attacking into the gap and bailing out your player driving along baseline. It's one of the first rules you learn as a basketball player in like high school is when your player or one of your ball handlers is driving down the baseline, there's two areas that you need to go to bail them out with the pass. You go to the opposite corner, you open yourself up, you flatten out at the opposite corner, and the guy from the top of the key usually cuts down that slot cut and opens up a passing opportunity. And Jaden Ivey did that within this game. It wasn't the only way he showcased that either. There was a few other really nice cuts that ended up in him scoring as well. He had another, not identical, but sort of the same type of play where he cut into a gap, took a dribble, and dished it off to Jalen Duren. This one was a turnover. It ended with, I think they gave Ivey the turnover. It was a little bit of a heater. But either way, even with the ending in a turnover, I don't know if it being like less than a heater was going to make it a non-turnover. I like the fact that his eyes are noticing that his vision is noticing that he's making that read. Could he have made it a little bit more accurate? Maybe it was a tough pass. He was kind of no looking. He had to no look it to get the big man's eyes that was in the passing lane away from trying to steal it. So it was a tough pass to make, but either way, the fact that his vision saw that it's off-ball playmaking really is impressing me. I love seeing that from Ivey. That is where I think he really needs to make his payday. I think that's where he can really be special, and he's showcasing that through 2 preseason games. He wasn't as efficient in this game as he was in the first game, but the first game he was just like electric, like he was just on a flamethrower. This game he started off really hot as well into the first quarter, but in the second quarter started to wear down a little bit. And in that third quarter, I think you saw what JB Bickerstaff is going to have to address. Cade did not play in the second half. And in that third quarter, things started to get wonky. You started to see the turnovers go up for Jaden Ivey. I believe he had 3 in that quarter. I believe Jalen Duren had 3 in that quarter as well. I believe Simone Fontecchio also had 1 in that quarter. Even Malik Beasley had 1. Like that third quarter was just not very. It was a very sloppy quarter. And it was because they didn't have Cade on the floor. And like we've mentioned on the podcast multiple times, they don't really have another point guard. And it's been the talk of the town with JB at a lot of these practices that he's been asked about, especially at media day. What are you going to do when Cade's off the floor? Who's going to handle the ball? And his response was, well, we're going to have everybody do it. I mean, that sounds good, like saying it, but watching it play out in reality. Now, look, it's just preseason. We'll see how it looks when the regular season starts. But, watching it play out is a little different. Guys, I don't know if the Pistons have many guys that they can trust to orchestrate an offense outside of Cade. Like Ivey is on off with it. We've talked about that before. Duren is a bit sloppy with the ball at times, even though he can make really nice plays from the DHO. If you start to extend his responsibilities above that, it starts to get a little on off again. It's not like Simone Fontecchio was going to do it. We even saw Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley take on ball handling duties, like setting up an offense at times tonight. That's not something you really want to see happening, I would assume. If you are a Pistons fan, if you are someone watching them to see them like try to win, I'm not sure if that's something you really want to see them doing. So in that third quarter, I think you got a quick look into a potential problem the Pistons could run into at times during the regular season. What's the ball handling responsibilities going to look like at long lengths of game time when Cade's not on the floor? Again, it's probably majority going to be Ivey, but that's an area he's going to have to grow in. And also he's going to need some help as well with that. And someone else is going to have to step up. So, but either way, Jaden Ivey continues to impress in this preseason. I really like so far through 2 preseason games, the strength that he added on. I don't think I was a little concerned about it before we saw it play out, whether it would like take away some of his quickness or take away some of his speed if he put on more weight. It doesn't look like it's done that at all. And actually, I feel like the strength has helped him in numerous areas that you've seen already. I feel like he's more compact. I feel like he's more balanced on his drives when he absorbs contact. He's not flying all over the place as much. I feel like he's absorbing contact a lot better. And again, this is just through 2 preseason games. It's a very small sample size. We'll see when the regular season games start. I'm not overreacting to this. We still need to see it actually happen when games matter and defenses are going to get tighter. But through 2 preseason games, it's popped up to me that he's looked more compact. He's taking contact a lot better. He's initiating contact a little bit better. And I think I said it, but he's absorbing contact a lot better. So I like the strength that he added on. And he's maintained that quickness and speed. I like the fact that he's really doing a good job of attacking gaps and attacking weak side defenses. So far through 2 preseason games, he's constantly moving. The ball's not sticking. I think you're seeing him grow a little bit, or that he grew a little bit over the offseason in that department when it comes to playing off ball, off of Cade. It's looked good through 2 preseason games. We'll see again when it plays out, when actual games matter. But those are the areas that I think has really jumped off the page to me. He shot 1 of 4 from deep tonight. I'm not reading too much into this kind of stuff because it is preseason and a lot of guys are using this just to get back into game shape. So I'm not really reading into the percentages that deeply, to be honest. But that's why the other stuff is more so what I'm paying attention to. How he's playing up here, how his mental game has improved, and whether this strength was a good addition for him. And so far, he's passing with flying colors, I'd say. He's been easily, I'd say, the most impressive player for the Detroit Pistons through 2 games. Look, Jaden Ivey is loved by the majority of this fan base. The fan base absolutely loves him, and he's showing through 2 preseason games for those who have heavy belief in him that this maybe could be the year. Again, we need to see it translate to real games. We need to see it translate when defenses start to actually get tight. We'll see how it looks. We'll see how he plays. But through 2 preseason games, he's given a lot of reason to have hope for the upcoming season's regular season opener, I would say. I think that's fair to say that he is very clearly giving a lot of hope for his individual upcoming season. It doesn't mean he's going to be perfect, but he's showing a lot of promising things through 2 preseason games. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka what have you guys noticed the most about Jaden Ivey's game so far through 2 preseason games? Again, let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka When we come back, I personally feel like that this rotation is becoming pretty clear just through 2 preseason games. It's becoming pretty clear to me what it's going to look like. I'm going to break it down for you guys when we come back. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get on your way to being your best self. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't involve zombies, ghosts, Michael Myers, Freddy, Jason? What if it doesn't involve, fun stuff like that? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them that actually matter in the real world and not fake characters that we use for fun every Halloween. Because sometimes the scariest things is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA for 10% off your first month. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers. 50% of you guys who watch the podcast on YouTube are not subscribed. So please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already. Or if you're listening to the podcast and you want to find the best way to support, hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. I really would appreciate it. Or you can also obviously always leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Not Pistons related. I'm recording this podcast and I can see like my tattoo that I have. Man, I got to finish off this tattoo, man. I've had this one tattoo for like 5, 6, 7 years. And I've always said I wanted to finish it out and get my full sleeve. And I just have been so lazy to do it. I'm going to have to do it by the end of this year, man. Anyway, sorry about that. That was just a personal thing I noticed looking at the camera while I'm recording. All right, so back to the Pistons. Oh, actually, one more quality of life update I have to let you guys know on. In audio feeds on all podcast platforms, when the regular season starts, you guys are going to see some episodes posted from Locked On Sports or Locked On Detroit Sports. And it's not going to be me. So when you guys listen to an episode right after their game, it's going to be a recap. It's going to be a reaction episode by Jake Ritma. He is the host of Locked On Detroit Sports. So you will see, again, like I said, audio on all of our podcast platforms right after games. And it's not going to be me. So if you listen to it and you're like, what happened to Koo? Where's Koo? Is Koo gone? Like, no, don't freak out. I'm still around. It's just after games, you guys will also get that. I'm not going to stop posting episodes after games. Don't be worried about that. You're going to get 2. You're going to get an episode from him reacting to game day, game reactions, and you'll still get one from me as always every single day. So just wanted to notify you guys of that before it actually happens, so no one's like caught off guard. But anyways, okay, now we can get back to the Pistons. So I think the rotation is pretty clear. Like I'm at 99.9999% sure that this is going to be the rotation. I can basically map it out for you what's going to happen. Through 2 preseason games, I think JB's made it pretty clear. Now, I do want to say it would be irresponsible to not bring this up. JB has said numerous times, we're going to use preseason to try different lineups. We're going to use preseason to use different rotations, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not calling him a liar. I think a lot of coaches say that. It's a lot of coach speak. Will you see a little bit of tinkering with stuff? Yes. But I don't think you're going to see some crazy out of this world like difference with their rotation game to game unless guys just completely sit out. So for this game against the Phoenix Suns, the Pistons started Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Malik Beasley, and Simone Fontecchio with Jalen Duren. The first game, I believe it was with THJ instead of Simone Fontecchio. Simone Fontecchio did not shoot the ball very well in this game. He shot 3 of 12 from the floor, 2 of 5 from deep. 40% from deep actually is fine, but everything outside threes, he was not shooting very well on at all. I think he's still rounding into game shape. A lot of these guys on the Pistons, outside of Ivy, to be honest, and Beasley, I'd say, a lot of them feel like they're still, they're getting into NBA shape right now and getting ready to play regular season basketball. Duren, I'd say, kind of is too, but I feel like he's also knocking off some rust. But you saw them play that starting lineup this game. You still saw them stick with a very short rotation in the first half. When they were trying to play the game seriously with quotations. You saw them play that 8-man rotation. It was starting lineup of Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Malik Beasley, Simone Fontecchio, and Duren. And then you saw Ron Holland, you saw Tim Hardaway Jr., you saw Isaiah Stewart off the bench in that first half. Okay, so I think you're going to very clearly see and again, I said this in the episode yesterday, the previous episode, that I spoke with people who followed JB Bickerstaff throughout his career, and he likes a 9-man rotation. Now, I will say also, Lamar Stevens did touch the court a little bit in the first half. He played 7 minutes, but he wasn't on the floor much, and I don't think anyone is expecting Lamar Stevens to be a part of the rotation or to, whatever. I'm not reading into that at all. I think they were just trying to squeeze some minutes in for him. He didn't play very much at all. He only played 6 minutes, and he didn't play much in the second half at all. So anyways, they stuck with basically that 8-man rotation. So I'm telling you guys this right now. This is probably what's going to end up happening. I'm 99% sure this is how the rotation is going to look. When Tobias Harris comes back, Tobias Harris is going to go into the starting lineup. What will happen then, you will have one additional player into the rotation. So the rotation will go from 8 players to 9. You will now have JB Bickerstaff at his wanted and preferred rotation at 9 guys. You will have Simone Fontecchio, Jalen Duren, Cade, Jaden Ivey, Beasley, Ron Holland, Tim Hardaway Jr., Isaiah Stewart, and Tobias Harris. You'll get that 9-man rotation. Tobias will start. I think it's pretty clear at this point that Cade and Ivy are going to start at this time. I'm going to take a guess and assume it's probably going to be Beasley that starts with them as well. They're going to go 3 guards, and then they'll put Tobias at the 4 and Duren at the 5. I think that's probably is going to be what the starting lineup on October 23rd is going to be. Okay, so that's your 9-man rotation. Asar Thompson is the X factor because we don't know when Asar Thompson is going to be cleared. We don't know if it's going to happen soon. We don't know if it's going to take a long time. We don't know anything. We don't know when he's going to be cleared. However, when Asar Thompson eventually does get cleared, when he does return to the team, when he's able to play minutes for the Detroit Pistons this upcoming year, he is going to come in and he is going to replace Ron Holland's minutes and probably eat a lot of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes as well. So then you'll stick with that 9-man rotation. Asar will either jump into the starting lineup. I'll tell you guys this now, a little nugget that I am under the understanding of, that if Asar Thompson was healthy, let me not say healthy. He feels healthy right now. We don't know why he hasn't been cleared, so I don't want to make it seem like he's not healthy. If he was able to play minutes right now, like if preseason had started and he was a full go through training camp and he was a full go for preseason, it was my understanding, I had heard that Asar Thompson would be in this starting lineup. Like he would be starting. If it wasn't that first game, he would be starting now. He would have been playing a lot of minutes. I don't know if that's going to be the case when he comes back because you'll have to ramp him up. You have to play practice. You have to get him worked up to playing heavy minutes. And maybe that lineup that you have out there is playing well. You don't want to mess with it. So I don't know what's going to happen when he does return. But I was under the understanding from some of the things I've heard that if he was a full go for training camp and preseason, you would have seen him in the starting lineup by now. But that's not the case. He's not cleared. So when he does come back, I think he's going to take all of Ron Holland's minutes. He'll eat into Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes. And then your 9-man rotation will be Simone Fontecchio, Jalen Duren, Cade, Jaden Ivey, Malik Beasley, Asar Thompson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Isaiah Stewart, and I say Tobias, I'm missing something. Tobias. And then that will be your 9-man rotation right there. I know with me saying that right there, people are going to say, well, what about Ron Holland? You just drafted him 5th overall pick. Just because the Pistons' last few years of drafting 5th overall picks played immediately doesn't mean Ron will play immediately. Him and Asar are very, I would say, are going to be asked to do similar things for the Detroit Pistons. So there's that. That's one. And two, Tim Hardaway Jr. has not looked good through 2 games in the preseason, but he does have an extensive career of being a good shooter, and they really do want to prioritize spacing. So I just cannot imagine the world where the regular season starts up and JB Bickerstaff is benching his veteran in Tim Hardaway Jr., who provides spacing, and again is a veteran. They made it over and over and over and over again clear to everybody throughout the preseason, at press conferences, at introductory press conferences for JB Bickerstaff, on draft night, at media day. They've made it over and over and over and over again clear that they want to put a priority on the vets and a priority of spacing. So until they show me otherwise, I am going to find it incredibly unlikely that Tim Hardaway Jr. will start the season completely out of the rotation. Doesn't mean he won't play himself out of it. Not ruling that out. But when the regular season starts, I'd be shocked if he's not in it at all. If he's not in it at all, I'd be shocked. So I think Ron Holland will play as long as Asar Thompson is out. And I think Asar Thompson, when he comes back and he's cleared, I think he'll eventually eat into Ron Holland's minutes, take his minutes whenever he's a full going. They trust him to play. He'll take Ron Holland's minutes, he'll eat some of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes, and then Ron Holland will eventually have to fight and eventually outplay THJ as the season goes on to take THJ's minutes. Some of the names that I did not mention in that rotation, Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, this is back-to-back games where the Detroit Pistons have not played Marcus Sasser in the first half. He's only played in the back end of the second half when everyone's just playing the reserves. Not a good sign for him. Another bad sign for Marcus Sasser is the fact that JB Bickerstaff likes going with 9-man rotations, and because of that, and the Pistons also wanting to stagger Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham at all times, that backup point guard position is now taken up by someone who's already in the starting lineup. So Cade and Jaden Ivey are taking up 2 spots, or 3 spots, basically. Point guard, shooting guard, and backup point guard. So in that 9-man rotation, you have 2 players taking up 3, basically, if you get what I'm saying. Like what would be normally a 10-man rotation, 2 guys are taking up 3 spots, making it a 9-man rotation. So it doesn't look good for Marcus Sasser being a part of the rotation. So it doesn't mean they're going to cut him or something. It doesn't mean they're going to trade him. But I don't think he's going to be in the rotation when the regular season starts. And I don't think there's anyone else we really need to discuss about potentially being in the rotation. I feel rather confident that is going to be what the Pistons rotation is when they start the season up. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. Do you guys agree, disagree with this, and what changes would you make to the rotation I just threw out there? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, is there any reason to have concern about Cade Cunningham when this regular season starts up? Hey, NFL fans, you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. And like I've told you guys this many of times, when betting became legal in Michigan a few years ago, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what to try out. I went over and tried out FanDuel, and I have not turned back since. I even got active this past week, taking the plus 7.5 on the Arizona Cardinals game against the San Francisco 49ers. I should have taken the money line with FanDuel, but FanDuel gave me 7.5. I took it and ended up making some cheese off of that. So again, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet with FanDuel.com. That's America's #1 sportsbook. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit the subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so I've seen some of this. So and obviously we have to talk about he's Cade. We have to talk about him. Cade was 1 of 6 in this game. He hasn't shot the ball. He hasn't been efficient from the floor the first 2 preseason games. Is there any reason to be concerned about Cade? No. All right. Thank you guys for having a great thank you guys for supporting the podcast. I appreciate it. Okay, no, we're not wrapping it up that quickly. But that is how short the answer is no. I told you guys this before preseason started. I told you guys this after the first game. I'm going to tell you guys after this game as well. Each player attacks preseason differently. Cade's goal for preseason is to get in a game shape and be ready for the regular season when it starts up. I do not care if Cade shot 100% from in preseason. If he shot 0% in preseason, I do not care. I am not reading into that, guys. Some guys don't take it as seriously. Some guys do take it seriously. Some guys don't play as hard in preseason. Some guys do. Some defenses preseason is preseason for a reason. Okay, and I know that there's been a lot of months without Pistons basketball, so everyone wants to read into every single possession and wants to take everything as serious as possible. But as someone who has watched almost every single preseason game for the Pistons going back to 2010, I can tell you guys that I have watched guys ball out in preseason and stink up the joint when the regular season starts. And I've watched really good players play like trash in the preseason, not take it serious and coast, and then show up for regular season and be perfectly damn fine, just like they've shown us at other points in their career. I am not concerned about this at all. Cade, I thought actually did a really good job orchestrating the offense. He had 8 assists and 1 turnover. I thought he was finding guys. And I think, like I told you guys in the last episode, that is one of his main goals is to let his guys get comfortable, let them get into a groove, let them feel good about themselves, getting into the regular season so when the games start to matter, his teammates are feeling good and ready to help him. That's part of the reason why they look up to him. That's part of the reason why they look to him as a leader, because he is trying to put them in the best spots possible during these times right now to elevate them and elevate their confidence when the regular season rolls around. So, no, I have no concerns at all about Cade Cunningham. The thing is about Cade, the only thing I will say is that he is obviously over the last 2 years or 2 seasons he's played fully healthy or relatively fully healthy. He starts off the season slow the first week and a half, 2 weeks, both years, and then he just heats up and plays really damn good the rest of the year. I know that was a goal to cut out for this upcoming year. He is spending this time in the preseason, get into that game shape, and be ready when the regular season starts. So he does not start off slow and work his way into game shape like he did his first year and like he did his third season coming off that injury. So he's using this time for preseason to get to that shape. If the regular season rolls around this year and he is not in game shape and he's taking the first 2 weeks to get into shape, then I will come on this podcast and I will be critical of him because there is no excuses for it this year. He had a fully healthy offseason, and he is using the preseason for that exact reason. So for this year, he will not have an excuse for when the regular season starts, and I will be critical of him when that happens. But this is preseason. These games don't matter. A lot of guys attack it differently. Different guys have different goals. I have seen guys ball out in preseason and then look like trash when the regular season starts. I've seen guys play like trash and coast during preseason and then just flip the switch when the regular season starts. I'm not concerned about it at all. And no one should. Unless you just don't like Cade, which is where I think a lot of this, not a lot of it, I'm not going to say it like a lot of people are saying, but from the people who are saying it, it's just from people who haven't liked Cade to begin with. So they're grasping on the stuff. They're like, oh, look how he's looking in preseason. He must not have a good year. We have a 60-plus sample size this past year of how good Cade was. If 2 preseason games is enough for you to go back on the 60-game sample size that we have this past year from Cade Cunningham, even going back to his rookie year, if that's enough to overwhelm that sample size to make you think all of a sudden Cade is a 1 of 6 shooter from the field and now he sucks all of a sudden, be better. I don't know what to tell you. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. No, you should not be worried at all about Cade. It's ridiculous. I kind of feel ridiculous I even have to address that on the podcast, but it is what it is. Let me know how you guys feel. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully, we see more. The one thing I will say I'd like to see more from Cade in the next preseason game. We didn't see any floaters from him tonight. I'd like to see him really ramp up the reps with the floaters throughout preseason so he's ready to equip that and utilize it in the regular season. He worked on it all offseason. That is one area I actually do have a problem with. I'd like to see him use his floater a lot more in the minutes he is going to play in the preseason. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen every single day, like I've already said. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out, everybody.